hello. There's like 6 people here. 8?
Hi, I do
Hello, 9?
Just for two.
Hi. 12?
Tracy for
Oh, hello.
Where's Tracy for two?
13.
Hi.
16, 17,
Just for two.
21, 22.
Hello, I'm here.
It's for two.
Yes, Miles.
I officially finished watching every Avenger movie.
You did?
There's 24 people here.
Wow. What are you going to start on next, Miles?
I'm gonna watch them all again.
Oh, okay. Good idea.
I finished the Harry Potter series.
I saw your email, Adam. So I was hoping we could answer.
I'm reading the second one.
And if you're talking, if you want to tell me something, we cannot hear you because you're just telling me that.
Okay.
Did it.
How's everybody's weekend?
Good.
Good.
Movie plate.
Actually do this.
Chapter Fan 101.
28 people.
Yes.
Look at
I made myself the host. No, you didn't. Just kidding. You have to do it in French.
All right. Let's get everybody in here. Everybody. Okay, so I think most of us are here. Happy Monday. Hi, Faith. Has anybody written a letter today? Oh, Danny did. Gavin did. Gavin, who did you write a letter to?
Jack.
Nice. Okay, we'll keep it a secret. He will never know. It'll be a surprise. Okay. So, Danny, who did you write a letter to?
I wrote a letter to my mom for Mother's Day.
Oh,
today.
that's nice. That's wonderful.
I gave my mom flowers.
Oh, that's nice, Jack. Very
Plus, Miss Fortune, Happy Mother's Day.
Oh,
And
Oh,
Happy Mother's Day.
thank you, Danny. Anybody else write a letter that they want to tell me about?
for Mother's Day,
I wrote a letter to Kaya.
I made the giant.
Oh, you did? Okay, we won't tell her. We'll keep it a secret.
for
Keep it a surprise.
for Mother's Day, my dad was trying to make something from this cooking show,
Uh-huh.
and then he couldn't find the brown sugar, so
Uh-huh.
so he put in put in something else that to
white
replace
sugar?
it, and then something else,
Uh-huh.
and then it looked way different from the how it was supposed to look like.
Yeah, that can happen. Was it tasty?
I didn't try it.
Oh, okay.
He said it
Well,
was.
He gets points for trying. Sometimes when you try a brand new recipe out, it doesn't always work out the first time, huh? Okay. Well, I'm happy to see everybody. And if you haven't already looked at today's email, there is an an activity for today about letter writing, so I hope you'll do it. Axel, what were you going to tell me?
I wrote that card we did on a Friday. She got amazed my mom on Mother's Day.
Oh, I bet she loved it. That's nice. I'm glad you did that. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. So we have a quick question from our friend Adam. I'm gonna unmute Adam for a second, or I'm gonna try anyway. There we go. Adam, why don't you tell them what you need? What kind of help?
Could I have some suggestions for some books to read?
Land of Stories, Percy Jackson.
Dragon Masters.
Are you writing these down, Adam? I'll write them down for you.
Everything
Dragon Masters.
Harry Potter. With
I already finished Harry Potter.
I just finished Harry Potter. So
Misfits.
Addie, what was the second one you said?
Percy Jackson.
That's right.
Magic Misfits.
The Kane Chronicles.
Oh, yes.
Secret Garden.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got it.
Magic Misfits.
Got it.
26 stories.
What about the Rick Riordan book?
And then home.
How about Mysterious Benedict?
Benedict Society.
What about Harry Potter? Harry Potter. I read my Calvin and Hope.
Okay, I'm muting everybody again because we're getting lots of good suggestions, but we can't hear them. By the way, these are suggestions for Adam, who has just finished all of the Harry Potter books. So he's read all of Harry Potter. So we're looking for other books he might like now that Harry Potter is finished. And so far we've got Land of Stories, Dragon Master, Percy Jackson, Magic Misfits, Rick Riordan, and the Mysterious Benedict Society. All of those are going to be series. Miles, what else do you think?
Secret Garden and Boxcar Children.
Oh, yes. The Boxcar Children I remember as a favorite of yours. Yes. Addie?
Gregor the Overlander.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's a good one. That's right. And there's a couple in that series, right?
There's 5.
Excellent. So that'll keep you busy for a while. Okay. Svea, what else?
26-story treehouse.
Oh, yeah. All of the different story tree houses, right? There's a bunch of those. Okay. Rashawn. Trying to unmute you. Go ahead and there you go.
If you like comics, I like Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, Calvin and Hobbes is a great idea. Yes. Calvin and Hobbes. Excellent. Ada.
But just so you know, the first book of the Land of Stories, the end is already quite, yeah.
Scary?
Well, it's sort of like intense, I guess.
Okay.
Because like there's a castle falling down and yeah.
Okay. So probably not a great recommendation for everybody in our class, but for someone who has just finished Harry Potter number 7,
Yeah.
I think it's probably okay. Owen. Oh, there you go.
Redwall.
Oh, yes. That's the other one I was trying to think of. Good. Good choices. Oh, I know. What about Inkheart?
Inkheart is really good.
Okay. Adam, we got a whole list for you. What I will do, because I think there's quite a few of you that would enjoy having this list, I will type this list up and send it out in an email after Read Aloud, okay? So you can all have the list. Danny's got one more.
The Penderwicks.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good suggestion. Thank you. Good suggestion. Okay. Well, let's get to reading. So I'm going to mute everybody again. We are going to finish Miss Pettifor today. So we left off with Cat's Cradle. Did anybody raise your hand if you practiced some string games this weekend? Did you learn how to do the Cat's Cradle? Oh, a few of you did. Excellent. No. Great. Thanks to Addie for the instructions that we were able to post. Excellent. Okay.
Platoon.
Yes, Nora.
The book that Addie has is the book that I have.
So that was the same thing you were planning to send me? Okay, perfect.
Grandfather said me again.
Yeah.
Your voice sounds a little bit quiet.
It does?
Yeah, but when you unmute the kids sound their voice sounds big.
Oh, okay. So I'm sounding quiet and the kids are sounding too loud, a little louder than me?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, I'll take a look at my microphone and see if there's something I need to adjust, okay? Jazzy, did you have something to say? I see your hand up. I'm trying to unmute you, kiddo. Can't make it work. Can you try on your end?
Oops.
Oh, Jazzy went. There we go. Okay, let me try this. Okay, Jazzy.
I found the end of the ocean all by myself.
Hold on. That's not going to work.
Why do you want me unmute?
I don't know why these buttons don't. Unmute. Jazzy, I can't make you unmuted. Come on. Everyone else is unmuting somehow.
Oh, there. Miss Fortune.
We're unmuting ourselves.
All robot-y. That mute button.
I sound robot-y?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay.
What is sing that?
I don't know. Okay. I just wish the Zoom buttons did what they say they do. Okay, so right now I have everybody muted. Please stay that way unless I call on you. Okay, use the chat if you need to get a hold of me. I'm keeping an eye on that while I read. Okay, we left off with the festooning. They were having their festooning festival and they were setting everything up, and Miss Pettifor let the cats decorate with just one single extra long strand of golden ribbon. Elegantly and with perfect teamwork, the cats slipped this way and that, and in no time at all had pulled the ribbon into a perfect cat's cradle. You know the game of cat's cradle when you wrap string around your hands and pass the cradle from one person to the next? All right, now everyone knows what the game of cat's cradle is. So the cat's plan was simple. They would festoon themselves with the ever-changing cat's cradle in a series of delightful poses. A sure winner. They were just settling down, waiting for the contest to begin, when Miss Pettifor cupped her hand over her ear. She had extremely good hearing, and in the midst of the chatter and bustle of the busy exhibition hall, she was sure she had heard that muffled boom again. It is not every day we hear a mysterious let alone two, and Miss Pettifor was now certain that something was amiss. She rushed outside. Miss Pettifor looked up and down and all around, and then she noticed a patch of sky that seemed to be glittering and shimmering and twisting in the weirdest way. And furthermore, it seemed to be swiveling directly above Mr. Conybear's confetti factory. Time to investigate. Quickly gathering cats and cloth, Miss Pettifor stretched out her arm to the autumn wind. Today was Sunday and the factory was closed, but Miss Pettifor knew that Mr. Conybear was probably inside, as he liked to sit in the quiet of the factory on Sunday afternoons and catch up on his thinking. Mr. Conybear was very keen to discover new uses for confetti, and every Sunday he would let his mind wander through the possibilities. Sometimes he would make various experiments, and it so happened that on this very Sunday he had invented his masterpiece, Coney Bear's super sticky confetti, which stuck to everything it touched. And it was this experiment that had so abruptly ended with the oom. The shimmering tornado above the confetti factory was growing bigger by the second, and Miss Pettifor had to be very careful to avoid getting caught in it. They circled to and fro, here and there, trying to find a way through. Suddenly, the wind shifted, and Miss Pettifor seized her chance. They slid right down to the ground through the center of the tornado. It was like swooshing down a tunnel slide, and landed neatly at the front door of the factory. Miss Pettifor found the key under the mat and let herself in, the cats winding excitedly around her feet. The factory was huge, with 2 giant glass urns of confetti standing like sentries on either side of the front door. Okay, I'm going to show you this picture. So here is the confetti factory. Here is the confetti tornado that has happened on top of the factory. And then here are the beside the front door. You know how sometimes people like to put plants next to their front door? Well, the confetti factory has these 2 glass urns full of confetti swirling around. That would be cool. Can I get one of those for my front door? The vast building was completely quiet, and confetti was everywhere. The walls glimmered like the inside of an ice cave, giving off a pale glow. Miss Pettifor could now see that something had gone terribly wrong, and that the oom had been a confetti explosion. No one ever wanted the confetti factory to explode, of course, yet over the years, everyone in the village had secretly wondered what would happen if it did. Would confetti shoot through the chimney like a cannon? Would the tiny polka dots make everyone sneeze? It must have been quite a blast, for everything inside the factory was coated in sparkling paper dust. The desks, the lamps, the telephones, the big confetti making machines. It looked as if no one had been there for centuries. Gabe, are you asking about what confetti is? Is that what you're wanting to know? Yes? Okay. Confetti is tiny, tiny, tiny bits of colored paper. When people are having a party, sometimes they like to throw confetti up into the air and let all the little colored bits of paper settle down. It's very pretty to watch. And nowadays they make it out of some kind of plastic, little tiny shiny bits. And you sometimes find it in a gift bag, or if you're at a fancy party, they may have sprinkled some of that confetti on the table. So does everybody kind of know what I'm talking about when we talk about confetti? Yeah? Okay. So this is, so you can see how the people in the town might have all gone at one point or another, I wonder what would happen if the confetti factory exploded. Confetti everywhere, right? Would the tiny polka dots make everyone sneeze? It must have been quite a blast, for everything inside the factory was coated in sparkling paper dust. The desks, the lamps, the telephones, the big confetti making machines. It looked as if no one had been there for centuries. The cats began to explore, lifting their paws high through the drifts of confetti snow. And soon, like Minky, they all seemed to be wearing little shining socks. Miss Pettifor looked down at her own feet and saw that her blue shoes were sparkling. Just then, a small sound echoed through the factory. It was a yelp, or perhaps help, and it was coming from the far end of the building where big silver vats were lined up, ready to fill little round tins with Coney Bear's confetti, extra shimmery. Miss Pettifor and the cats heard the voice again. They waded as quickly as they could through the drifts of dots and followed the feeble cry. Miss Pettifor stood on the tips of her toes and looked over the edge of a vast vat. There, peeking out of the extra shimmery, was the very embarrassed face of Mr. Conybear, who was sunk and afraid to move for fear he would sink deeper. His face and hair and eyebrows were shining with paper dust, as if he were wearing a mask. Poor Mr. Conybear! He had spent all morning experimenting, trying to find the perfect recipe for super sticky. But his last batch had blown up, and the confetti explosion had oomed him straight into a vat of extra shimmery. Without wasting a moment, Miss Pettifor twisted her tablecloth and threw one end toward Mr. Conybear, who caught it in his teeth like a fish catching a hook. The cats formed a chain, and with Miss Pettifor tugging too, out popped Mr. Conybear. He was completely shimmery from the top of his head to the tips of his shoes, and Miss Pettifor and all the cats thought the same thought at exactly the same moment. Encased in paper dust, including his hair and eyebrows, Mr. Conybear looked exactly like a statue. The thought of statues reminded Miss Pettifor of the festooning festival, and, afraid the cats would miss the judging, she hurriedly led Mr. Conybear outside. She readied her tablecloth, linked his arm in hers, and without a moment's pause, up they flew, deftly avoiding the twister of confetti still hovering above the factory. Mr. Conybear was so astonished to be suddenly in the air that he barely even realized what was happening before they'd already landed and were rushing off to take their places for the judging. During the short flight, the wind had blown away all the paper dust from Mr. Conybear, and, though dazed, he looked his old self again. What a grand spectacle greeted them in the exhibition hall! Everyone was now ready, and such a sight had never been seen. Everything sparkled, shone, and gleamed. It was a wonderland of festooning. The cats quickly assembled themselves in their assigned place, near a large skylight that was left open to let in the lovely autumn air. If you have been reading about Miss Pettifor's adventures, and of course you have because you are reading this sentence, then you will know how handy a coincidence can be. A coincidence is something that happens at just the right moment. Say, for example, just at the very moment you find $1 on the sidewalk, the ice cream truck stops in front of you. That's a tasty coincidence. Or say, just at the very moment your hot cocoa is ready, a marshmallow falls out of an airplane and lands in your cup. That's also a tasty coincidence. Stories use coincidences all the time to fix up tricky triangles. You can usually tell when one is coming because coincidentally, the story will use the word coincidentally, and similar words such as it just so happened, impossibly, or incredibly. Now, just to make sure all those special words work, let's try them out. It just so happened that the confetti tornado above the factory, consisting of extra shimmery and the very sorry about that. It just so happened that the confetti tornado above the factory, consisting of extra shimmery and the very first batch of super sticky, had begun to move. Slowly at first, then picking up speed in the breeze, the swirling confetti began to race across the sky toward the village, and then past the village toward the outskirts and the exhibition hall. And incredibly, the confetti ran smack into a cross breeze that smashed into it with such force that the twister broke apart and cascaded straight down to the ground in a storm of glistening powder. And, impossibly, the exact spot of the collision in the sky was directly above the open skylight of the exhibition hall. And incredibly, impossibly, and coincidentally, Mr. Coney Bear just so happened to be standing directly beneath the deluge. In a trice, Mr. Coney Bear was a statue once more. For a single startled moment, the cats and Miss Pettifor just stood there, blinking with surprise. Then all at once, Minky, Misty, Taffy, Persia, Pirate, Mustard, Mutard, Hemdala, Earring, Grigorovitch, Clasby, Captain Captain, Captain Catkin, Captain Clothespin, Your Shyness and Sizzles sprang into action. They circled Mr. Coney Bear, and all of one mind, the cats turned to Your Shyness, whose glowing fur was as bright and shiny as a gold coin. In a single leap, she jumped onto Mr. Coney Bear's head, where she looked just like a sparkling gold crown. At that very instant, Judge Patel reached them and was struck by what she thought was an amazingly lifelike statue of the Confetti King. "Why, that's positively extraordinary," she said. "I could swear it was Mr. Coney Bear himself." She paused. "And what a singularly simple festoon!" And then she placed the silver trophy in Miss Pettifor's hand. The crowd went wild. They picked up Mr. Coney Bear and carried him out the door to the garden, where there was to be a huge party to celebrate the winning festoon. They deposited him near a fountain, and there he stood, indeed looking just like a fine piece of sculpture. Shy Mr. Coney Bear, the Confetti King, was dumbfounded. What with the shock of being exploded into a vat, then airlifted into a festooning festival, being mistaken for a statue, and helping to win first prize for Miss Pettifor and the cats, and then being carried off by a cheering crowd, he was completely undone. You can see him being carried off, covered in confetti. Mr. Coney Bear began to totter. Miss Pettifor, who was a very good noticer, saw that the events of the afternoon had been all too much for Mr. Coney Bear, who was not used to such excitement, and she thought perhaps a quick getaway was best. So gathering the cats around her and readying her tablecloth, she held out her hand to Mr. Coney Bear for their getaway flight. Sometimes a story depends on finding something, a key to a secret door, a magic ring, a hidden passageway. Sometimes you have to look down to find it, like your slipper under the bed. And sometimes you have to look up to find it, like a balloon caught in a tree. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, what you're looking for finds you. Leo, did you have a question? Go ahead.
I don't know what you're saying because my volume's too low.
Okay, is anyone else having trouble hearing me? Jazzy's having trouble. Okay, so everyone else seems to think I'm sounding okay. Mrs. Nin and Mrs. Schneider, am I sounding okay to you guys? Yeah, okay. So I'm thinking that Jazzy and Leo, probably you need to turn up the volume on your computer.
Okay.
Try that.
I'm going to make the volume louder.
Okay, try that and see if that works, okay? As soon as Mr. Coney Bear took Miss Pettifor's hand, his feet began to lift off the ground. And exactly then he understood, sometimes all you must do is reach out your hand for something wonderful to happen. The cats quickly linked themselves, and forming a furry circle with dear Miss Pettifor and the new-to-flight Mr. Coney Bear, they all ascended together. Soon the noise of the exhibition grounds grew dim and was far behind them as they flew back toward the village. Miss Pettifor always thought of the autumn air as deliciously cold, and it was delicious up in the sky above the village, the kind of cold that makes everything bright and clear. For a long while, Miss Pettifor, Mr. Coney Bear, and all the cats hovered in the deepening sky. They watched as one by one, and then by twos and threes, the lights came on in the village. Cozy Mrs. Carruthers turned on the reading lamp with the big orange lampshade next to the sofa where her 4 children gathered every night for their evening story. She slid the baby's chair next to her, and the other children fell into a heap to listen. Even the baby, who didn't understand a word but loved to hear the sound of his mother's voice, listened the way we all do when we're being read to and we're just about to fall asleep, the words floating in the air. And cozy Mrs. Carruthers stopped reading for a moment and looked about her at the beautiful faces of her children, each of them eager to find out what would happen next in the story. Down the street, outside Mrs. Collarwaller's shop, the great wooden sign in the shape of a book creaked on its hinges in the wind. Mrs. Collarwaller heard the creaking and went to the window to look out at the blustery night. It was very snug looking from outside. It was very snug looking out from inside. Soon she made a cup of tea and was sitting in the ho-hum half of her warm shop, and almost just as soon she was having a nap, safe and peaceful as a picture in a book. Above the bakery, the giant wooden cupcake swung back and forth outside Pleasant Patel's bedroom, where Pleasant was sunk in her favorite beanbag chair, reading, and as she always did, eating her late afternoon baguette, freshly baked and with just the right crunchiness on the outside. If Miss Pettifor and Mr. Conybear and all the cats hadn't been quite so high up above the village, they might have heard Pleasant Patel's favorite sound, the lovely sound of baguette crunching, as Pleasant turned the pages. She always crunched faster when the story turned exciting, and that evening she was just at the part of the story where the hero hides himself, crunch, in a barrel, crunch, and rolls himself into the river, crunch, 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 in a grand and daring, crunch, 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 escape. A few doors down from Mr. Patel's bakery, Clemmy was teaching her dog how to rip the Velcro open on her running shoes so she wouldn't have to bend down when she was in a hurry or when her hands were full. And almost at the end of the village, in their house next to the river, Colonel By and his wife were just settling down with a pot of tea to listen to a symphony on the radio, as they always did on a Sunday afternoon. Mrs. By gently walloped her husband to make sure he was listening to a particularly beautiful bit, and Colonel By smiled at the thought of how much he might have missed in this world had she not been there to show him. For a long moment, everyone in the village, and the village itself with its sounds of crunching, ripping, and walloping, and with its swaying signs of cupcakes and books, hammers and tap shoes, and with lamplight in the windows, seemed to be content. Minky gently brushed Miss Pettifor's cheek with her fluffy tail to remind Miss Pettifor that it was getting dark, which it was. And well, as everyone knows, when it begins to get dark, it's time to head for home. It's very difficult to navigate when you can't see where you're going. Skillfully, Miss Pettifor leaned into the cold October wind and slowly began to gather in her sail. Mr. Conybear, learning by the minute, had soon got the hang of flying, and together with the furry streamer of cats, in no time at all, they were making their gentle descent into Miss Pettifor's garden. It was evening now, and a lovely path of orange light from Miss Pettifor's kitchen window poured out across the lawn. The cats jumped up onto the windowsill and they all peeked in. They saw that the table was laid out just as Miss Pettifor had left it all those hours ago, before the excitement of the afternoon, all set and waiting there as if it hadn't been the most astoundingly thrilling day. With the platter of leaf biscuits still sitting calmly in the center of the table. And all the cats, littlest Minky and Misty and Taffy and Persia and Pirate and Mustard and Mutard and Hemdala and Earring and Grigorovitch and Clasby and Captain Captain and Captain Catkin and Captain Clothespin and Your Shyness and the longest cat of all, Sizzles, licked their lips at exactly the same moment and crowded around Miss Pettifor's ankles looking up at her. And with everyone gazing at her, Mr. Conybear smiling, and the cats all mewing, with everyone around her very happy and suddenly very hungry, Miss Pettifor gathered her tablecloth, stretched out her arm, and opened the door. It was good to be home. The fire was soon lit, the kettle was soon whistling, and everyone sat around the table, or on the table, or under the table, and Miss Pettifor and Mr. Conybear and Minky warmed their toes contentedly in their stocking feet. There would be many wonderful adventures to look forward to, once the treats had all been devoured, adventures of just the right size, as wonderful as that very day, from its leafy beginning to its leaf biscuit end. So there are the leaf biscuits, and there's the little scene that we're left with. And that's the end. So the author, Anne Michaels, has written some other books. They don't say though if the books are, oh, okay. She's written some books for adults. The Adventures of Miss Pettifor is her very first book for children. And Emma Block, the illustrator, is the illustrator of Tea and Cake and several books for children. She has worked with Hallmark. She has made greeting cards for Hallmark. So maybe you recognize her art from a greeting card you got once. And they're both from the United Kingdom. I don't think there are any more stories in this about Miss Pettifor, but you'll have to look. Because it said this was her first book for children and it just came out fairly recently. So I don't think there are any more yet, but hopefully it's popular enough that she'll write some more. Yes, Svea. Trying to unmute. There you go.
I have another recommendation for a book.
Let's hear it.
It's a Descendants thing.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not.
Oh. Okay. Do you think that that book is going to be a hit with people if they haven't watched the TV show or movies? Are they movies or TV? I can't remember. Okay. What do you think, Addie? Did you have something to say, Addie? You looked like you were going to say something.
They're movies.
Movies, thank you. Okay. So Svea, you think people would like those books even if they haven't seen the movies? Yeah? Okay. Good to know. Let's see here. Okay. Danny, go ahead.
I just got this book, and it's not really a recommendation. I just really want you to get it. It's called Forest of Shadows from Frozen 2.
Is it a Frozen book? Okay. Yeah. So one thing that is really good to keep in mind, thank you, Danny, for that recommendation. Thank you, Svea. When a movie or TV show becomes popular with kids, usually right away, they want the people that made that TV show or movie want to create some books and get them into the stores quickly so that if you're still excited, oh, Frozen, I love Frozen, I want more Frozen, you can go buy some more books about Frozen. So those are going to be available for anything that's any TV show or movie that's been real popular. You're going to find some books about those as well. I am going to keep my list confined to authors of books that maybe aren't based on a movie or a TV show, which is not to say that they might not have made a movie about the book, but I generally, for my recommendations to you guys, I'm going to stick with books that have been written first as a book, if that makes sense. Not that there aren't many exciting books available out there for you. And hopefully before too long, you'll be able to go back to the library and get all of them. But I will go ahead and jot down these recommendations. And Axel, did you have something more to say?
Yes, so I found this book on online. It's called The Wild Robot.
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah,
Shall I add it to the list?
yeah.
Because there's a sequel to that.
Mhm.
Are there just 2?
I think there's just 2.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, we read that last year, I think, or 2 years
No.
ago.
I don't think we read that. No.
I definitely read it as a read aloud, but I can't remember how long ago that was.
Yeah, because I know I haven't heard it from you yet.
Wow, so it was 3 years ago. Okay. Well, probably it's time for us to read that one again. Thanks, Axel. It's a good one, isn't it? All right, we've had a great discussion about books. So I will send you this list. Oh, Nora's got another one. Nora, there you go.
So the Willoughbys.
Oh yeah.
There is a TV show about it, but they came out like a month ago. So the book is first.
So that sounds like, I think that's a book that was written first as a book.
Yeah.
And later someone said, I really like that book. Let's make a TV show about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Oh, Carissa is recommending the Andrew Clements books. I agree, Carissa. Those are awesome. Troublemaker. What are some of the others? Andrew Clements has a bunch. I'm blanking now, but I'll think of them. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you so you can chat a bit, and then tomorrow we'll start our new book.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye,
Everybody.
everybody.
Bye.
Everybody. Bye, everybody.
You want to see something cool?
Everybody.
Got it. No
Bye,
talking.
everybody. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. Bye,
All right,
everybody.
guys.
Bye,
Everyone.
everybody.
I'll try
Gone.
tomorrow.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. See you soon. Bye,
Have a great
everybody.
afternoon.